They announced it just after dessert. The whole family was still at the table, plates scraped clean, wine half finished, fireplace crackling like it belonged on a postcard. Mom tapped her spoon against her glass and stood up like she was making a toast. "We have some news," she said, smiling the way someone does when they know what they're about to say is going to get more attention than it deserves. I was mid-sip. Coffee, black, no sugar, still hot enough to sting the inside of my mouth. "We've decided it's time to downsize," she said, voice light. "The house is too much, too many stairs, too much space. We've sold it." People clapped. A few murmured things like, "Oh, wow," or "That makes sense," like it was a smart financial move instead of a betrayal. Derek raised his glass. "Couldn't say no," he said. "Too good a deal to pass up. Real estate's wild right now." He looked at me when he said it. He smiled. I just looked back at him. Mom turned to me. "You understand, right? You've always been so independent. This place, it was never meant to be your burden." I nodded. "Of course," I said. Then I took another sip. "My name's Aaron Delmar. I'm 42. Retired Army sergeant. Served 3 tours in Afghanistan, 1 in Iraq. Walked out with a ruptured ACL, tinnitus in both ears, and a pension that should have set me up for life. Didn't use it for myself. Used it for them. I moved back into the house a year and a half earlier. Dad had just had his second stroke. He was quieter now. Not because he was humbled, but because half his mouth didn't work anymore. The house looked the same. Same sun-bleached porch swing, same cracked shutters, same mildew stain on the living room ceiling from the year the roof gave out. "You don't have to stay," Mom said when I came back. "You've done enough." I didn't answer. I just started tearing out the rotten beams on the back deck the next morning. They didn't ask me to fix the house. They didn't have to. Every nail, every wire, every board. I did it. I rebuilt the porch, then the stairs, replaced the water heater, rerouted the plumbing under the kitchen sink because Dad used to pour grease straight down the drain for 20 years, and it finally caught up to him. I refinished the hardwood floors, ripped out the moldy carpet in the hallway, sanded, stained, sealed, paid for it all with the pension. Didn't ask for thanks. Didn't get it either. I used my old VA contractor license to pull permits for the electrical rework, upgraded the breaker box, replaced every switch and socket, documented everything. Old habit. Paper trails save lives or lawsuits. Had the HVAC replaced that June. Used the last chunk of my pension for it. Registered it under Delmar Home Services, the LLC I set up years ago but never used. Figured it'd keep things cleaner for taxes. Derek showed up once during all of this. He parked his Tesla out front, came in with sunglasses on, called the kitchen retro, said the house had flippable energy, took a selfie with my dad in his wheelchair and posted it with the caption, "Back at the roots." Didn't offer to lift a thing. "Man," he said, walking through the kitchen, "you really went all in on this place, huh? I've got a guy who could Airbnb this out in a week and get you 5 figures a month easy." I didn't say anything, just handed him a trash bag and told him to take it out. He left 5 minutes later, trash bag still on the floor. That fall, I installed a gas fireplace insert, something warm for the holidays. Bought it as a surprise. Wrapped the box myself. Left it in the living room with a note that just said, "For the house." Christmas morning came and went. No one opened it. Mom was busy making pecan pie. Dad was wheeled out onto the new back patio, the one I poured and tiled myself. The rest of the family started showing up around noon. By the time dinner rolled around, Derek and his girlfriend had arrived. She brought store-bought salad and a ring light she propped on the counter to take photos with natural lighting. People complimented the house, said it felt refreshed. One of my aunts even said it had a completely new energy. I was washing dishes when I heard someone say, "This place is wasted on the old generation." I didn't look to see who said it. I just kept scrubbing. And then came the announcement. Mom's spoon on the glass, the speech, the news. "We've sold it to Derek." No warning, no conversation, not even a thank you. Just a smile and a champagne glass raised, like this was some business merger, and not the final nail in something I'd spent 2 years holding together. I took a sip of my coffee, still warm, bitter. "You're independent," Mom said again. "You'll land on your feet." I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "I usually do." I went back to the sink. They started talking about moving dates. Derek's girlfriend suggested they paint the hallway. Something less brown. I dried my hands, picked up the gift-wrapped fireplace box, carried it back to the truck. Didn't say goodbye, just drove home. They thought I was done. They thought I'd just vanish. They forgot what kind of man I am. It took them 2 weeks to follow up. I got a text from Mom first. "We're thinking of moving by February. Could you help with some of the heavy lifting?" Not a question. More like a postscript to betrayal. I didn't respond. The next day, Derek emailed me a scanned inspection checklist. "Hey man, need help identifying which upgrades you did for the buyer report. They're super impressed with the Reno. Great craftsmanship. Also, do you remember the HVAC installer? Need that receipt. The email ended with a smiley face. I stared at it for 5 minutes, closed my laptop, and walked outside. It was drizzling, cold. The kind of cold that soaks into old injuries. My knee throbbed in sync with my heartbeat. I stood on the porch of the small rental I'd moved into 3 days after Christmas and watched my breath fog the air like a slow leak. They hadn't even asked if I had somewhere to go. The new place was a 600-square-foot duplex at the edge of town. Smelled like dust and cigarettes. The landlord gave me the key with a shrug and said, "Don't flush paper down the toilet. Pipes are old." There was no driveway, no yard, just 4 concrete steps and a thin steel door with chipped paint. I moved in with 2 duffel bags, a cot, and the box with the gas fireplace insert, still unopened. I placed it in the corner of the room, didn't unwrap it, just left it leaning against the wall like a headstone. The calls kept coming, from Mom, from Derek, once, even from Aunt Lisa. "Your cousin's doing a great job handling things. It's really coming together." Coming together. Like they were building something, like I hadn't already built it. Mid-January, I got an email from the title company. "We've been advised to contact you regarding the HVAC and electrical documentation filed under Delmar Home Services, LLC. They were polite. Curious, I wasn't. I replied with a scan of my permit filings, contractor registration, and warranty docs, all issued in my name, billed through the LLC, and filed with the county. The final line of my email was 5 words. "Any questions? Contact my attorney." I didn't have one yet, but I would. That was the moment I decided. I pulled out the folder. The one I kept in a fireproof safe in the closet of my rental. Receipts, work logs, permit stubs, before and after photos. A notarized invoice from the HVAC contractor I'd subcontracted for the heavy install, addressed to Delmar Home Services, ATN, A, Delmar. It wasn't spite that made me document everything. It was training. You don't survive in the Army for 17 years without learning how to keep records. I printed 3 full sets, one for my lawyer, one for the county office. One I mailed without a return address to my parents' home. The cousin posted a video the following week. "Excited to bring you along for our renovation journey," he said, spinning in the driveway with a wide grin. "This place has good bones, but we're going to bring it into the future." He pointed at the windows I'd installed 6 months ago. "These?" Getting ripped out. He tapped the porch railing I'd reinforced with pressure-treated wood. "Probably going to open this up." He called it a project. He called it fun. He didn't tag me. The lawyer I hired was a former Navy JAG named Mel Torres. She had a limp and a voice like gravel. Wore boots to court and didn't flinch when I handed her a full accordion folder. "Tell me what you want," she said. "Options?" I replied. She flipped through the documents for 10 minutes in silence, then nodded once. "I think you've got leverage. Depending on what they disclosed, we might be able to challenge the sale or hit them on valuation fraud. Renovation was your investment, registered through your business. That matters. And if they never told the buyer? Even better. That's called a material omission. Lenders don't like that." By February, the cracks were showing. Derek called me from a blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. "Hey, Aaron, we ran into a snag with the title company. They're saying something about contractor liens. Can you just clarify that nothing's in dispute? I told them your family, so it's all chill." He paused, then added, "Also, the HVAC warranty's under your name. Can you transfer it?" I didn't respond. I forwarded the voicemail to Mel. She wrote back, "Good. Now they're nervous. The house didn't sell. Twice the loan was approved, and twice it fell apart during underwriting. The problem wasn't the house. The problem was the paperwork. There were too many red flags. Unexplained contractor claims, incomplete title transfer, a veteran-owned LLC with registered investments in a gifted property. The county requested clarification. I provided all of it. In March, I received a certified letter, handwritten return address. Mom. Inside was a folded page from a legal pad. "Aaron, this has all gone too far. We just wanted to simplify things. You didn't need the burden of this place forever. I thought you understood that. Please don't make this harder than it has to be. No apology. Just an expectation that I would give up quietly. Again." I placed the letter in the fireproof safe with the rest. A week later, Mel called. "County office confirmed the permit filings are still tied to your LLC. That gives us the basis to file a lien. Do it. Once we file, they'll panic. Might even call you. I don't answer unknown numbers." They did. 5 missed calls in 2 days. Then a voicemail from Derek's girlfriend. "Hey, can we talk? I know there's been a lot of tension, but this house was supposed to be our fresh start. We didn't realize the paperwork would be so complicated. Can you just, remove whatever's blocking it?" I replayed it once, then deleted it. By April, the deal was dead. The mortgage application was denied for a third time. The inspection company flagged unresolved title discrepancies. The buyer backed out. Derek pulled the listing. The influencer girlfriend stopped posting renovation updates. A friend from town sent me a screenshot of a tweet. When your family uses you and the law doesn't care, dorm blocked by blood. I didn't respond, but I bookmarked it. I drove by the house once in late April. The lawn was overgrown. A for sale by owner sign leaned against the mailbox with a faded number. The porch I'd rebuilt was still sturdy. The lights I'd wired turned on as I passed. No one was home. I sat in my truck for a moment, engine running. Then I drove away. Didn't look back. They thought I'd give them everything and disappear. They thought the smile meant surrender. But in my world, smiles are just warnings. By May, they stopped calling. No texts, no voicemails, not even passive-aggressive emails asking for clarification on permits. They must have realized the door wasn't opening, and I wasn't on the other side anymore. Mel and I met in her office the following Monday. She'd moved her practice into a former bank. No signage, just a rusted brass plate on the door. She liked it quiet. So did I. She had the lien paperwork on her desk, along with 2 folders and a highlighter sticking out of her bun like a weapon. "You ready to escalate?" she asked, flipping a page. I nodded. She handed me a pen. "Sign it." The lien went through in 4 days. Filed through Delmar Home Services, LLC. Covered all registered upgrades, HVAC, electrical, structural retrofits, labor hours. The value, $62,711.44. Exacted down to the cent. Every invoice matched. The county accepted it without contest. They never do when the paper trail's clean. By the end of the week, the lien showed up on the property record. Derek's name wasn't on that record yet. Neither was mine, just my parents'. But now, right under outstanding claims, it read, Private Contractor Lien, Delmar Home Services, LLC, recorded May 18th, $62,711.44. I sent no warning. Let them read it the way I found out about the house sale, casually, cruelly, and too late to undo. 2 days later, I got a text from Derek. "Dude, what the hell is this?" I ignored it. He followed up. "This is going to tank everything. We can't close with this on the record. Just remove it. We'll make it right." He said we. Like this was a misunderstanding. Like I had somehow misinterpreted their public humiliation of me as something other than what it was. I muted his number. I started documenting more. Not out of paranoia, habit, old instincts. In the Army, paperwork isn't about rules. It's about survival. I pulled every permit I'd ever filed under the LLC, cross-referenced receipts, created a timeline. May 1st, porch support install. May 9th, electrical retrofit. May 22nd, HVAC paid in full. June 4th, payment to county office for permit reissuance. June 6th, invoice to Delmar LLC, final settlement. I even photographed each room after I completed it, time-stamped, with copies of materials used. Mel looked it over and nodded. "This isn't just a lien," she said. "This is a declaration of war." The next move wasn't legal. It was psychological. I called the title company Derek had tried to use. Used a voice I hadn't used in years. Flat, professional, firm. "Just wanted to make sure your file's updated. The lien's active. Also, for your due diligence report, I can confirm that all improvements were funded and executed through a private LLC. The homeowner never reimbursed the contractor." Pause. "You may also want to note that a partial easement still exists on the northeast side. It was filed under a VA accessibility clause attached to my father's medical access route. Requires 5 years of retained use per grant stipulation." Longer pause. "Oh," the agent said. "We'll add that to the file." Good idea. A week later, the listing for the house came down. Again. 3rd time this year. The real estate agent removed Derek from the listing notes. The remarks went from fully renovated, modern southern charm to sold as is. Buyer must complete due diligence. My mother called. Not to apologize. She asked if I was done. "Are you happy now?" she asked, voice sharp. "I'm comfortable," I said. "Big difference. I raised you better than this." "No," I said. "You raised me to shut up and take it." Silence. "You're tearing this family apart. Only thing I tore down was moldy drywall. Rest of it was already cracked." Then came the cousin's pivot. I heard through a neighbor that Derek was looking into refinancing options, trying to buy the house outright from my parents with a private loan, probably trying to pay them enough to cover the lien. Problem was, even if he did, the easement stayed, and the paper trail couldn't be erased. Even if they managed to throw money at the mess, the chain of title was contaminated now. Any future buyer would see it. Any lender would hesitate. I visited the house one more time. Midnight. No lights. Porch was dark. A dead for sale sign slumped against the fence like it gave up. I walked around the side. The pecan tree I planted when I was 11 was still there, branches split wide like a question. The deck I'd built was solid underfoot. No creaks, no rot, just pressure-treated resolve. I stood there for 5 minutes, said nothing, left. The next morning, Mel emailed me. Got a letter from their lawyer. They're offering to settle. Full lien payout in exchange for easement release and removal of all claims. Also want a signed NDA, your move. I read it 3 times, then typed, decline. Let them squirm. That night, Derek posted a vague tweet. Funny how some people only build things just to own you later. It got 5 likes and 2 replies. One said, damn, you good? He didn't answer. I spent the next weekend filing one more document with the county. Notice of intent to maintain lien for the next 36 months. Just to keep it fresh. Just to let it rot. They built the betrayal with smiles and silence. Now they'd live inside the ruins. Not because I destroyed anything, but because I preserved everything. I didn't react when they sold the house. Not at the party. Not the day after. Not the week after. That's how you catch people off guard. By giving them nothing to measure. But I wasn't done. I was just quiet. The first thing I did was unbox the folder. It had lived inside a fireproof safe for the last 16 months, labeled renovation docs, parent property, A. Del Mar, every receipt, every invoice, every permit, every email exchange, and every inspection report. Indexed, numbered, signed where needed. HVAC installation, $9,400. Electrical overhaul, $3,670. Foundation repair, $6,100. Custom oak flooring, $12,850. Labor hours logged, 1,040 hours at $40 per hour. Market rate equals $41,600. Total, $73,620. I wasn't going to round it down to be polite. I'd been polite long enough. I reached out to a lawyer the next day, not a billboard type, not one with commercials. Melanie Torres, former Navy JAG, practiced real estate law with the kind of precision you'd expect from someone who used to cross-examine pilots. We met in her office above a pawn shop. Your parents still alive? She asked, scanning my documents. Both. They transfer ownership already? Number just promised it. Tried to list it with a realtor. Sale didn't clear. Now they're doing a private agreement with my cousin. Paperwork? They don't think I know. She smiled without warmth. Then we make sure they find out you do. We filed a mechanics lien through my LLC, Del Mar Home Services. Veteran registered, small business certified. All work documented under that business. All permits filed using that contractor number. Lien amount, $73,620. Filed with the county. Sticks to the property title like blood on a white shirt. It means the house can't be sold, transferred, or refinanced until the lien is satisfied. Or they go to court and prove I don't deserve a penny. They won't, because I have proof. More than enough. I didn't call them. Didn't text. Didn't warn them. Let them find out the way I found out the house was sold. Publicly. Quietly. On paper. 3 days later, Derek emailed me. Subject line, Yo, WTH is this? Message, title office flagged something with your name on it? I thought you said you were cool with the move. Why make this harder than it needs to be? I didn't reply. He followed up that night. Lawyer says we can't finalize anything until this is removed. Can you just sign a release? I'll even Venmo you something. Venmo. Like I was a food delivery guy who forgot to charge a tip. Mel called me the next day. They've got a real estate attorney now. Sent us a request for documentation. You send it? I sent the folder, all of it. She paused. They're going to panic. Their attorney's good enough to realize this isn't negotiable. Let them sweat. Next, I called the zoning board. The property's HVAC system, installed with VA contractor aid, qualified for limited easement status due to my father's medical disability at the time. That clause? It included language that the system, once installed through a registered veteran-owned business, could not be altered or removed for 5 years without VA notification and approval. The clause had 3 years left. I filed a notification of easement maintenance with the board. Now the house couldn't be legally modified in any major way without triggering a federal violation. They wouldn't know that, not until the permits started getting denied. I wasn't trying to ruin their lives. I was just setting the table. What they served themselves after that wasn't my fault. Midweek, I sent an anonymous packet to the title company. Inside, the lien filing, permit history, VA easement docs, veteran contractor registration, photos of before, after renovations with timestamps, work log spreadsheet with notarized summary. I didn't include a return address, didn't need to. They'd know. The house came off the market 5 days later. Listing removed. Realtor changed status to pending reassessment. I checked once, then closed the tab. Didn't save it, didn't smile, just poured coffee. Sat by the window of my rental, watched rain move like oil down the glass. A week later, Derek's girlfriend posted a photo on her Instagram story, a blurry picture of boxes. Caption, false starts, time to pivot. It was gone in 24 hours, but someone sent me a screenshot. Mel forwarded me an email. Subject, settlement proposal. Our clients are prepared to offer $45,000 to settle the lien, provided the easement is rescinded and no further action is pursued. Additionally, they request a signed NDA prohibiting disclosure of this matter. I wrote one line back, full amount. No NDA, or it stays. No one responded. By June, the mortgage offer they'd arranged with a private lender was pulled. Reason, contested legal claims and unresolved contractor dispute. Translation, we don't lend on toxic assets. I walked by the house again. Didn't mean to. I was driving past, turned the corner, and there it was, porch light off. Driveway cracked from spring heat expansion. No cars, no music, no laughter. The pecan tree I planted when I was 11 had started dropping early. They hadn't just lost the house. They'd made it radioactive. No one would touch it now. Not without me signing, and I wasn't signing anything. Not now. Not ever. That's the thing about being underestimated. You only get to do it once. The collapse started with the cousin's Instagram going silent. Not private, just quiet. No posts, no reels, no notes or home renovation captions about legacy spaces or bringing modern to vintage. It had been 6 weeks since the lien hit public record, 3 since the VA notice froze the permit board, and 2 since Mel rejected their settlement. They thought ignoring me would buy them time. Turns out time was the most expensive thing they could afford. The first visible crack came in a real estate newsletter, buried under a section about zoning trends and mortgage shifts. Buyer withdrawal trends in heritage districts. A notable home in West Willow was pulled from the market following permit complications, unresolved lien filings, and a VA compliance lockout. No names, no addresses, but small towns know how to connect dots, especially when the picture is shaped like my parents' house. The second came faster, a voicemail from Aunt Lisa. I don't know what you're doing, but your mother hasn't left the house in days. Can you just be the bigger person and let this go? Derek's lost a lot trying to make this happen. I didn't respond. She called again a day later. He was trying to honor the family, Aaron. You didn't have to make it ugly. They made it ugly the day they smiled while gutting my name from the deed. Then came the realtor, a firm, condescending voice on speakerphone. We were under the impression the improvements were family donated. There's no record of reimbursement to your LLC. Mel handled that one. And there's no record of consent to transfer that asset. Every permit, invoice, and labor log was filed under our client's business. If you proceed with listing the home, we'll escalate to civil fraud. Silence on the line. Then, understood. Click. It hit the mortgage world next. Private lender flagged the house as red asset due to legal entanglements. Flag shared to national database. Now, no bank would touch it. Even if they paid the lien off in full, the reputation damage stuck. Too much liability. Too much legal noise. Realtors call these kinds of properties poisoned wells. No one drinks from them. I ran into a guy I knew at a gas station. Worked at the county assessor's office. He pumped diesel with one hand, sipped Monster with the other. Man, I heard about the mess with your folks' house, he said. Didn't sound gossipy, just surprised. Some renovation dispute or something? I nodded. Something like that. He shook his head. Crazy how fast people ruin their own deals. Then came the real blow. Derek posted a thread on Twitter. 7 tweets, all lowercase. Tones somewhere between humble brag and victimhood. Sometimes the people who act like they love you the most are the ones who want you small. You build dreams and they build roadblocks. Lesson learned. Blood isn't thicker than litigation. The last one just said, moving on, new chapter, stay tuned. 2 likes. One from his girlfriend. One from an account named #HustleHarder1993. Mel called me the next morning. They tried filing a rebuttal. Rebuttal? Yeah. Claiming the improvements were an informal family gift, that you never expected payment. What did you say? I sent them your signed time logs, with dates, locations, labor value. Then I sent the VA accessibility clause tied to the HVAC install. She paused. They went quiet after that. By July, the pecan tree out front was dropping dead limbs. Metaphor wrote itself. No one was mowing the lawn. The porch had a sag in the corner again, not because it was failing, but because no one checked the posts after the spring rains. Funny how quickly things fall apart when the person holding it together disappears. I got a certified letter from my mother. Inside, 3 sentences handwritten in cursive. We didn't mean to hurt you. We only wanted what was best for everyone. Please come talk to us. I didn't respond. I slid the letter into the fireproof box with the rest. Later that week, Derek sent one final message. You win. You poisoned everything. Hope it was worth it. No greeting. No sign-off. Just spite and font. I didn't write back, but I did something better. I filed a notice of renewal on the lien, extended its validity for another 3 years. Total cost, $24 and a signature. Mel sent confirmation. Lien renewal accepted. Recorded and live. With that one form, I locked them in. No sale, no equity, no escape. They weren't just stuck. They were stuck in a house built on sacrifice, renovated with trust and crippled by betrayal. And the only man who could fix it wasn't interested. It started with a knock, not a text, not an email, not a call. An actual knock on my rental's dented steel door, just after 8 a.m. I hadn't spoken to my mother face-to-face in 5 months. She stood there in a wool coat, hands wrapped around a purse like it might protect her. Behind her, Derek. No smile, eyes flat, like someone waiting for a verdict. I didn't invite them in, didn't offer coffee, didn't sit. They didn't ask. We need to talk, Mom said. I waited. There's no easy way to say this, she continued, but we made a mistake. Derek shifted beside her, arms folded tight. I kept my hand on the doorframe. We didn't think it would come to this, she said. You filing liens, getting the government involved, turning it into this. You sold the house while I was still working on it, I said. Her lips tightened. We thought it was what was best. You've always been so independent. You figured I'd walk away quietly. Silence. Derek cleared his throat. Look, man, none of this had to get legal. It was supposed to be a clean handoff. You made it messy. I looked at him. You forged a sale agreement before the deed was even clear. That was between them and the lawyer, he snapped. Not anymore. I turned, walked back into the house, and came back with a folder. Same one Mel had tabbed and labeled. I handed it to my mother. She opened it with trembling hands. Inside, the lien documents, copies of permits filed under my LLC, inspection reports, VA compliance records, photos with date stamps, signed estimates, time logs. Her eyes glazed halfway through. Everything was documented, I said. Everything was legal, you just didn't ask. She tried to speak, failed. Derek stepped forward. So what's the plan here? Hold the house hostage forever? You want a payout? Fine. We'll write a check. You can't afford it. I've got options. Then use them. He looked at me like he wanted to say something sharp. Instead, he exhaled hard through his nose and turned away. We just want to make this right, my mother said, voice small. You can't, I said. Aaron, please. You stood in front of 30 people and gave my home to someone else, while smiling, while I stood 5 feet away. I didn't say a word then, but I'm saying one now. She blinked. No. They didn't ask to come in. Didn't offer to undo anything. Didn't apologize like they meant it. They just left. Derek didn't look back. She did. I closed the door. Later that day, I got an email from Mel. Their lawyer has formally withdrawn. Settlement talks ended. No new counsel listed. County clerk confirmed lien is fully uncontested. Then, we won. I checked the county portal later that week. The property sat flagged. Unsellable, unmovable. Market value dropped by $40,000 in 3 months. I drove by once more. The for sale sign was gone. No one had replaced it. The lawn was 2 feet high. 2 weeks later, I got a card in the mail. No return address, but the handwriting was my mother's. Inside, Aaron, I miss my son. Not the man you became during all this. The one who used to fix things for everyone. I don't know how we got here, but I hope someday you understand that we did what we thought was right. Love, Mom. No mention of the house. No mention of Derek. Just that single sentence. The one who used to fix things for everyone. I read it once, then folded it into the same envelope, slipped it into the back of the safe with the rest, right next to the lien renewal, and a fresh form labeled Permanent Restriction of Release Authorization. Delmar LLC. They thought I'd break, thought I'd give in for peace, thought I'd forget. They forgot who I learned silence from, and what I'd been trained to survive. The house didn't sell, not in spring, not by summer, not even when they dropped the price below market and offered to throw in the furniture. Buyers backed off when they pulled the title history. No one wants a lawsuit with their mortgage. By fall, the grass out front was dead, not from heat, from neglect. The shutters I'd painted began to peel. The porch railing I'd installed now leaned right, likely hit during one of Derek's failed DIY videos. A neighbor sent me a photo, no caption, just the picture. Brown lawn, warped fence, dark windows, looked like a memory abandoned mid-sentence. I didn't live in the duplex anymore. I found a place outside of Asheville, small, quiet, 2 bedrooms, and a view of the mountains. Bought it with VA assistance. Told them the truth, said I was rebuilding. They nodded. They'd heard that story before. Usually ends better than it starts. I didn't speak to Derek again. His accounts went private. The influencer girlfriend moved out. One day she was posting detox tea ads. The next, she was gone. Someone told me he tried to flip another house in town. It fell through during the inspection. Apparently his name was now flagged on multiple lender databases for incomplete financial history. Not my fault, just the ripple effect of arrogance. I saw my parents once more. Not planned. Grocery store. Middle aisle. They were looking at soup. My mother's hair was thinner. Dad leaned heavy on the cart. They didn't see me. I didn't let them. Just turned the corner, left the store, drove home. No heartache, no rush of rage. Just nothing. That's when I knew it was over. Not for them. For me. I still kept the paperwork. Not out of spite. Out of discipline. The lien would expire in 3 years if I didn't renew it again. I marked the date anyway. Might renew it, might not. That part didn't matter anymore. The house wasn't mine, but it wasn't theirs either. It just sat. Unloved, unsellable, unwanted. Like a question no one could answer. One morning I made coffee. Same black mug I'd used the night they made the announcement. Same bitter roast, but the silence felt different now. Not heavy, just quiet, empty of obligation. I sat on the porch of my new home. The trees swayed like they didn't care who had been betrayed. Mel sent me a check. Residual payout from a secondary lien clause tied to a zoning rebate. "Didn't expect this," she wrote, "but I figured you'd want to know. Your work still has value." I didn't cash it, just filed it away. Proof again that I wasn't crazy. The gas fireplace insert I'd bought as a Christmas gift still sat in my garage. Unopened, still in the original wrapping. The note attached read, "For the house." I scratched out the word "the," wrote, "For a home." They took something I built with blood and time. They turned it into a transaction, a betrayal. They assumed silence meant surrender, that the man who gave everything had nothing left. They were wrong. Silence was never weakness. It was preparation. And by the time they heard me again, it was already too late. That's all for this story. I'll be back with another one. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It motivates me to create more content like this.